So the first thing I want you to consider is your why. If you don't have a strong why of why you want to quit something, your chances of doing so are not zero, but very, very, very low. Because the thing is, the way cravings and addictions work, and obviously there's a lot of neuroscience behind this, but like you get a trigger from the environment, like something bad happens, or you see a certain person, or you finish work, or there's a rest break, or whatever it is, something happens in the environment, and that reminds your brain and sets the neural connections to going, hey, do this behavior, do this behavior, do this behavior. That could be smoking, drinking, gambling, a variety of different things. Whatever that behavior is, eat chocolate, right? And the idea is that in the past, you've gone to the chocolate. I'll use chocolate as an example because it applies to me. You go to the chocolate, you eat it, and you feel good. So it rewards your brain, and then your brain goes, when I feel this way, when this thing in the environment happens, I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to feed my addiction. I'm going to do the habit that we don't like. So then when the next time this negative happens, your brain triggers and says, hey, eat the chocolate, eat the chocolate, eat the chocolate, smoke, drink, whatever. So when you're quitting, when you're trying to cut these neural connections, you're fighting against how your brain is literally connected, how it's wired. And when you say, no, I'm not going to eat that chocolate, your brain fires it harder. It's like, hey, I'm telling you, eat the chocolate, just eat it, right? It's telling you harder and harder and harder because it wants you to fulfill that behavior. And what will happen is it'll get harder and harder and harder, and then it'll start dropping away. And you'll think that you've quit. You'll think you're fine. But then there's this thing called an extinction burst, which, in a certain period of time afterwards, when you thought you've quit, it'll pop up and you'll get this real strong burst of the desire to do the bad habit, the desire to fill the addiction. And that's when a lot of people break. And then they'll go back into this cycle of just, eating chocolate or smoking or whatever, because they can't get past that extinction burst. So it's important to be aware of a couple of things here. The first one is that it's going to get harder before it gets easier. Okay? And given that fact, given that it's going to get harder, you're going to want to have a very strong reason why. We all know why we should quit smoking. It's terrible for you. It's literally going to end your life or make your the last few years of your life terrible, and it will take off life expectancy, right? It causes a variety of health problems. We all know that. But that, it's literally on the packet. But unfortunately, that knowledge, people can be saying, yes, I really need to quit as they're smoking, right? It's not enough just to have this sort of general knowledge. Oh, sugar's bad for you, I should stop. You really have to have a strong and distinctive why. So for me with coffee, I have issues with my anxiety. I have a long past of trauma, like I said, and all that sort of stuff. But the thing is coffee is a stimulant and it makes it worse. So what I realized was that when I was having coffee, by the end of the day, the more coffees I had, the less I could physically breathe, right? Because I was so anxious and tense. I was getting into sort of anxiety-based arguments. It was causing a lot of mental duress. It was causing me to need to take time off work. It was causing me to just lose functionality. Now, if I lose functionality, I can no longer work as much. If I can't work as much, I can't feed and house my family, right? Do you see how that's a very strong why? I'm going, I need to be able to feed and house my family and breathe. That's a lot stronger than, coffee's not that good for me. Do we see the difference there? So with say alcohol, right? I recognize that some of my relatives and role models have addictions, either to alcohol or drugs. So I looked at them and I'm like, that's not where I want to end up. But if I keep drinking as a way to escape the mental stuff that's going on, that is likely what's going to happen, because something bad happens, you drink, something bad happens, you drink, right? And now you're just drinking as a way to cope, not just with the initial trauma, but with everything that's going on. It's like your default is to drink. Same thing with the sugar, same thing with all that sort of stuff. So the point I'm trying to make is that if you have a strong reason why, something that's strong for you, that has to come first, because when these cravings come, you need to have this force of will to be able to step back and go, okay, I hear you. I see these cravings. Years of neural connections are telling me to do this behavior. I need to stop that. Now I'm going to give you tools and tricks so that it's not just force of will, because if it's just force of will, a lot of people wouldn't be able to do it, right? But you do need to have that strong why, because we're gonna build in multiple layers of defense here. One of them is, I'm not gonna do this because, bang. What's your reason? It could be family, it could be friends, it could be career, it could be to prove something to yourself or to someone else. Your reason why is not as important as how strong your why is. Yeah? Find that strong why. Write it down. I am doing this because, and write it up on your wall, right? Look at it daily. This is why I'm quitting smoking. This is why I'm exercising. This is why I'm cutting the sugar out. Does that make sense? Have a strong why.